Welcome to Twilight Cafe by Zivostoria. I am Aurora, and today's guest is Thomas.
Start today's session with a bit of a confession.
Oh, really?
What did you do? Well, I spent the entire morning just completely glued to the schedule for the upcoming ICC Men's T20 World Cup. I was in full-on sports fan mode.
Right, checking out the matchups.
Exactly. I was looking at the brackets, the underdog stories, reading up on the swing bowling conditions. But then I sat down, opened the stack of research we actually have for today, and I realized I have been looking at this completely wrong.
It's a harsh realization, isn't it?
It really is. I've been looking at it as a sport. But according to the data we're diving into, cricket, specifically this massive tournament, isn't really a sport anymore, is it?
No, it's really not. I mean, if you look at the balance sheets and the corporate strategies, the actual cricket match is almost accidental to what is really happening.
Accidental, that's a strong word.
But accurate. We aren't looking at a sports tournament. We are looking at what sociologists and economists in our research are now calling a commercial supernova.
A commercial supernova. That sounds massive and, honestly, a little destructive.
It is both of those things. It's a highly engineered industrial engine. The core purpose isn't to determine who the best cricket team in the world is. The purpose is to harvest human emotion.
Specifically, that really intense nationalism we see in South Asia.
Right. They harvest that emotion and convert it directly into a balance sheet item.
That is a very cynical way to start our deep dive. But the numbers in our sources, they definitely back you up. And I want to start with a number that just blew my mind.
The big one.
Yeah. The valuation of a single match. India versus Pakistan.
The absolute holy grail of the sports industry.
We aren't just talking about ticket sales here. We are talking about the total commercial ecosystem of just that one single day.
Right. So the estimates place the commercial value of a single India-Pakistan T20 World Cup fixture at over $250 million.
Wow.
That is roughly 2,200 crore rupees, just for 3.5 hours of cricket.
That's more than the GDP of some small island nations for one afternoon on a patch of grass.
And that massive concentration of value, it distorts everything around it. If you want to buy attention during that specific match, just a single 10-second ad slot broadcasters are charging between 30 and 40 lakh rupees.
40 lakhs for 10 seconds. I mean, that just seems completely unsustainable for any brand.
You would think so, but in the media buying world, they track these ad rates like actual commodities. They explicitly compare that 10-second slot to the price of gold and silver.
Because it's a guaranteed audience.
Exactly. It carries what they call attention premium. That's anywhere from a 25% to 60% markup over a standard match. They are quite literally pricing the geopolitical anxiety between two nuclear-armed neighbors, and they're selling it to toothpaste brands.
It is wild when you frame it like that. So our mission today for this deep dive is to look way past the boundary rope. We're going to tear down this concept of emotional capitalism. We need to figure out why the broadcasters are somehow actually losing money despite these insane ad rates.
Which is a fascinating paradox.
Right. We'll look at the dark side of the merchandise machine, and we need to talk about the mall analogy, which honestly I think is the scariest part of this whole research stack.
It really is the structural flaw that could collapse the whole thing. But we got to start with the foundation first. The money that keeps the lights on. The media rights bubble.
Yes, the Disney Star deal, which is now GeoStar, the headline number I saw everywhere was $3 billion. That's billion with a B. And that was just for the India-only media rights for the 2024 to 2027 cycle.
A staggering amount of money.
When I saw that, I just thought, okay, cricket is a gold mine. Everyone involved must be getting incredibly rich.
That's definitely the intuitive reaction. But that $3 billion number is incredibly deceptive. It's what they paid, not what they're actually making.
Right, the revenue is a different story.
Very different. If you dig into GeoStar's audited accounts, you find a very specific, very worrying accounting term. Onerous contracts.
Yeah, I saw this term in the source notes and I actually had to look it up. Onerous contracts. It sounds like something from an old Victorian law firm. What does it actually mean in this business context?
In plain English, it means you've signed a deal that is guaranteed to lose money.
Guaranteed to lose.
Yeah. GeoStar actually set aside a provision of 25,760 crore rupees, which is effectively that whole $3 billion amount. They set it aside specifically for anticipated losses on sports content deals.
Wait, they spent $3 billion and they've already just written it off as a loss on their books? Why would any company do that? That sounds like terrible business.
It's a loss leader strategy, but just on absolute steroids. They aren't playing for short-term profit right now. They're playing for monopoly.
So they're just starving out the competition.
Exactly. They bet the house on the attention economy. The corporate theory was basically sports is the only thing people watch live anymore. If we control the cricket, we control the eyeballs. And if we control the eyeballs, we can sell subscriptions and ads forever.
But the ad market isn't really playing along with that theory, is it?
Not at all. The market is super fragmented now. Digital ad rates are totally different from traditional TV rates, so they are bleeding cash just to hold on to these broadcasting rights, hoping that eventually they'll be the only massive player left standing.
Okay, so the broadcaster is effectively underwater.
Huh?
But when I watch the game, the field is just plastered with corporate logos. The sponsors themselves seem completely fine.
Oh, the sponsors are thriving. This is what our sources refer to as sponsorship supremacy. But the strategy has really shifted. It used to be about traditional advertising, like a billboard you drive past. Now it's all about embedding.
Embedding, like product placement in a movie.
Much deeper than that. Look at a brand like Emirates or Aramco, or even locally with Dream11. They aren't just a logo slapped on the jersey anymore. They are the actual mechanism through which you interact with the sport.
I have to admit, I'm guilty of this. When I watch a game, I'm rarely just watching the TV screen. I've almost always got my phone in my hand, checking stats, checking my fantasy team.
You and over 80% of the entire audience, that is the second screen economy. It's a $10 billion opportunity.
10 billion just from people looking at their phones while the TV is on.
Exactly. And Dream11 is a perfect case study here because they hit a massive regulatory wall recently. The government really cracked down on real money gaming, tax laws changed dramatically, and there were outright bans in certain states.
Right, I remember reading about that. Most companies would have just folded or severely scaled back their operations.
But Dream11 pivoted. They shifted entirely to a free-to-play model, and by doing that, they managed to keep their 10 million daily active users.
But how do they actually monetize that? If the platform is free to play, where's the money coming from?
They created a completely closed digital consumption loop. You play the fantasy game for free, but to get shout-outs, to interact with cricket influencers, or to buy virtual goods, you have to buy into their virtual currency. You're inside their economy.
Ah, I see.
And then they integrate other brands like Swiggy and Tadanu directly into that interactive experience. You aren't just a viewer anymore. You are an active user inside a digital ecosystem.
That's a really key distinction. A viewer just watches a broadcast. A user generates data points.
Precisely. You're generating data every second. And that brings us to the core psychological trick keeping this whole thing running. Emotional capitalism.
This term came up quite a few times in our reading for this deep dive. It really feels like it explains the unique madness of South Asian cricket fandom.
It really distinguishes cricket from, say, going to the cinema or buying a regular product. If a new movie gets terrible reviews, you just don't go. You save your money. But cricket in South Asia is treated as a literal national duty. It is deeply tied to your identity as a citizen.
And the brands have figured out exactly how to hijack that sense of duty.
Completely.
The stats on travel and the research really drove this home for me. It said 31% of cricket fans are likely to travel internationally just to follow their team. That is significantly higher than even football fans.
It's not a vacation for them, it's a pilgrimage. And because it's a pilgrimage, you become totally price insensitive. A sponsor like Marriott Bonvoy, they know you aren't going there to relax on a beach. You absolutely have to be there for the match. So they can charge essentially whatever they want.
Speaking of having to be there, let's talk about the uniform of that pilgrimage. We all want to wear the blue jersey. It feels like a show of support and pride. But the report from the Clean Clothes campaign, the foul play report, that was a really tough read.
It's the dark underbelly of this entire merchandise machine. We see the star players wearing these high-tech, beautiful kits, and they're getting paid millions by Adidas or Nike. But the supply chain making those kits tells a very different, very grim story.
The workforce is predominantly female garment workers, right?
Yes, mostly women working in factories in Vietnam, Cambodia, and Indonesia. The report highlights this massive inequity. Despite the premium price tags on these jerseys, I mean, a fan is shelling out maybe 5,000 rupees sometimes for an official shirt, the women actually making them often aren't even paid a living wage.
So the shirt that costs a fan a significant chunk of their weekly wage probably cost mere pennies to make in terms of labor.
Correct. The wholesale market relies heavily on massive production hubs like Yiwu in China to just pump out these cheap polyester goods by the ton. We wear the gear to show our national pride, but the economics behind that specific shirt are deeply exploitative.
It definitely makes you think twice about what you're buying at the stadium store. And speaking of the stadium experience itself, if you are one of those 31% who traveled all that way, you are fundamentally a captive audience.
Captive is actually the legal reality of it. Look at the concept of exclusive pouring rights.
This is the Coca-Cola deal with the ICC.
An 8-year monopoly. When you are inside that stadium, you literally cannot buy a competing beverage. True choice is completely eliminated by a corporate contract.
And when you completely eliminate choice and competition, you usually stop caring about the actual customer experience. Which means we have to talk about the adulteration scandal, the viral video from Delhi.
Right, the incident at the Arun Jaitley Stadium.
Just to bring our listeners up to speed if you didn't see it, a video went incredibly viral showing a stadium vendor pouring leftover drinks from half-finished cups back into a large bottle to resell to other fans.
Yeah.
It was genuinely stomach-churning.
It was incredibly gross. But the public response from the Delhi and District Cricket Association was even more revealing than the video itself. They didn't come out and apologize for hygiene failures.
No, they claimed it was waste segregation.
Exactly.
Waste segregation. Come on.
They seriously argued that the vendor was just pouring the liquid out to separate the wet and dry waste for better recycling.
We actually believe that?
Whether we believe it or not really isn't the point. The point is that the authorities felt comfortable using that ridiculous excuse. It highlights just how little power the fan actually has in that environment.
Yeah.
You're locked in the stadium, you're thirsty, and you have absolutely no other options.
It's total control of the physical environment. And that control extends directly to what we see on the TV broadcast, too. I want to touch on the surrogate advertising issue because it feels like a massive loophole that everyone in the industry just politely ignores.
It's not just a loophole, it's a highly sophisticated billion-dollar industry practice called regulatory arbitrage.
Regulatory arbitrage. That sounds like a very fancy corporate term for cheating the rules, because alcohol ads are strictly banned in India. But I swear, every other ad during the World Cup broadcast is for a whiskey or a beer brand.
But look closely at the screen next time. Are they actually selling whiskey?
Technically, no. They're selling music CDs or packaged drinking water.
That is the arbitrage. A company like Pernod Ricard promotes Royal Stag through these music CDs that I challenge anyone to actually find for sale in a physical store. AB InBev promotes Budweiser 0.0, which is the non-alcoholic version.
But the logo on the screen is absolutely identical. The font, the colors, everything is identical to the beer.
That's the entire point of the strategy. They are banking on pure brand recall. They show you the visual trigger, and your brain does the heavy lifting to fill in the rest. Legally speaking, they are selling you water or a CD, but psychologically, they're selling you the hard liquor off-screen.
It's incredibly manipulative. But maybe not as manipulative as what our sources called the digital divide. We talked earlier about how cricket used to be the people's sport. It was free to air. Everyone in a neighborhood gathered around the radio or maybe the one TV in the village to watch together.
That era is completely dead. Cricket is now a bundled luxury product.
But wait, let me push back on that slightly. I can stream the match for free on my mobile phone with Jio. Isn't that democratizing access for everyone? That feels like technological progress.
It's a very clever illusion of access. Yes, you get the live stream for free. But what is the actual quality of that stream? It's low resolution, it's on a tiny screen, and the data is heavily compressed. If you want the real experience, the 4K, high definition, the ability to actually see the ball clearly on a big screen TV in your living room with your family, that experience is locked firmly behind a paywall.
Right, the Jio Hotstar premium plans.
Which can cost up to 2,199 rupees a year. So high-quality communal viewing, which is really the way the sport is culturally meant to be watched, is now totally class-restricted. If you have the money, you get the grand spectacle. If you're poor, you get the blurry pixels.
That's a really depressing way to look at it. It's essentially the gentrification of the airwaves.
And that gentrification is happening in the physical world, too. Economists call this event-led inflation.
This is specifically about the host cities.
Right. Look at a city like Ahmedabad or Colombo during a major tournament match. The pricing algorithms know you're coming. Airfares don't just go up a little bit, they completely explode. We see 300% spikes in prices, round-trip flights hitting over 1.1 lakh rupees.
So the local fan, the guy who maybe lives just 2 streets away from the stadium,
he's completely priced out of his own city for the weekend. The restaurants, the local transport, even the secondary market for tickets, they're all priced for the traveling wealthy class, not the locals. The stadium basically becomes a gated community for the day.
And amidst all this massive excess, the thousands of plastic cups, the international flights, the hyperconsumption, the ICC tries to tell us that they are going green.
Yes, the greenwashing the boundary section of our research.
The big campaign was hashtag Maidan Saf, right?
Mhm.
Which translates to clean stadium,
Done in official partnership with Coca-Cola.
which feels like a pretty massive conflict of interest considering they are the ones producing all the plastic bottles in the first place.
It absolutely is. They introduce these special collectible cups and they put out all these glowing press releases about new recycling bins around the concourse. But environmental critics look at this and call it textbook greenwashing. You are hosting a global mega event that generates literal mountains of waste, and you're burning thousands of tons of jet fuel to fly teams and fans around the world. A few branded recycling bins doesn't offset any of that. It just makes the consumer feel slightly better about buying the product.
It's purely performative. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground today. We've done the media rights bubble, the sweatshop labor, the event inflation, the fake music CDs. But there's one concept in this research stack that pulls everything we've talked about together. The real aha moment.
The mall analogy.
Walk us through this. Because once I pictured this analogy in my head, I absolutely could not unsee it.
Okay, let's break it down. You have to stop thinking of the T20 World Cup as a sports tournament. Imagine the 2026 World Cup is instead a massive, high-end luxury shopping mall.
Okay, I'm picturing the mall. I'm walking in.
The landlord of this giant mall is the broadcaster, Geostar. They paid $3 billion to buy the land and build the mall. But as we established earlier, the landlord is already losing money on the rent.
Right, those onerous contracts we talked about. They're in the red.
Exactly. Then you have the tenants of the mall. These are the mega brands, Coke, Hyundai, Emirates. They are paying huge rent to set up their shiny shops inside the landlord's mall.
Got it. The brands or the stores.
Now, usually a normal mall relies on steady foot traffic all year round to survive, but this specific mall is different. This mall's entire financial solvency, whether the lights literally stay on or not, depends almost entirely on one specific weekend sale.
And that massive weekend sale is the India versus Pakistan match.
Exactly. That one single event holds $250 million of commercial value. It is the Black Friday of this entire cricket economy.
So what happens if, say, one of the main stores doesn't open for Black Friday?
That is the ultimate vulnerability of this whole system. What happens if one of the anchor tenants, let's say Pakistan, decides to boycott the big sale due to a political dispute?
The mall collapses.
Instantly. If that one match doesn't happen, the broadcaster loses 500 crore rupees in ad revenue immediately. The hospitality sector in the host city loses $30 million overnight. The ticket sales evaporate.
It's not just a bad business day, it's a complete systemic failure.
It implies that this entire multi-billion-dollar industrial machine is betting the house on the geopolitical stability of two nuclear rivals who don't even have normal diplomatic relations. When you look at it that way, it isn't a tournament. It is a financial derivative based entirely on geopolitical tension.
A financial derivative based on tension. That explains so much. It totally explains why the tournament schedule always looks the way it does.
It's exactly why India and Pakistan are literally always placed in the same group. It's why India gets fixed, predetermined venues for the semifinals regardless of standings. They are actively rigging the mall hours to ensure the big weekend sale happens no matter what. They literally cannot afford a fair, randomized draw.
So if we zoom out from the pitch and look at all this, is the gentleman's game just dead?
I think the game itself is just a delivery mechanism now. Look at the recent expansion of the tournament format. 20 teams, 55 matches.
I mean, more cricket sounds good on the surface, doesn't it?
Does it? Or is it really just creating more ad inventory? The broadcasters need more slots to sell to recoup their billions. The future of this sport isn't about watching a match for the love of the game. It's about an integrated consumer ecosystem. You're watching the broadcast, you're betting on your fantasy app, you're ordering food on your phone, and you're viewing targeted ads across all those devices simultaneously.
It's a completely closed loop.
Yeah.
And you mentioned ordering food. I saw the specific data on the food delivery apps in our notes.
The entertainment trap. Apps like Zomato and Swiggy see 35% to 40% massive sales surges on match days. Quick commerce apps like Blinkit entirely restructure their logistics to stock up on snacks for those exact hours. The attention economy doesn't just dictate what you watch, it dictates when you eat and exactly what you eat.
It feels inescapable once you're plugged into it.
It is. And that leads me to a final provocative thought, really a challenge for you, our listeners. The next time you sit down to watch a big World Cup match, I want you to actively pay attention to your phone.
What exactly should they be looking for?
Watch what happens on your screen when a star player hits a massive six. Count to 3. 3 seconds later, your phone is gonna buzz. Maybe it's a notification for a 20% discount on a pizza delivery. Maybe it's a fantasy league update pinging you, telling you your points just went up and prompting you to buy more virtual coins.
I get those exact notifications all the time. I never really linked the timing together.
Realize that the notification isn't a coincidence. It is the entire point of the enterprise. The cricket didn't happen to entertain you. The cricket happened to trigger that specific commercial notification.
So we aren't really the audience at all.
No, we are the product. The real competition isn't happening between the bat and the ball down on the grass. The real competition is between the corporate boardrooms fighting a war for your behavioral data and your continuous attention. Are you a fan, or are you just the product being harvested?
That is a genuinely chilling thought to end on. We tune in to cheer for our country, but we're actually just clocking in for a shift in the data mine.
It's the fundamental question every modern sports fan really needs to answer for themselves. Can you still purely enjoy the game while knowing you're actively being sold to the highest bidder?
Well, I know I'm definitely going to look at that next India-Pakistan match very differently. I'll probably still order the pizza, let's be honest, but at least I'll know exactly why I'm doing it.
Awareness is always the first step.
Thank you for guiding us through this commercial supernova today. It's been incredibly eye-opening. And to everyone listening, keep questioning the game behind the game. We'll see you in the next deep dive.
And to everyone listening at the Twilight Cafe, we hope this deep dive gave you a new perspective. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe to Twilight Cafe by Zivostoria. Leave us a review and let us know what you think.
Yes, please do. We love hearing your thoughts.
Let's have a coffee and see you next time.